I recently acquired this range bag and I love it. It has a lot of different compartments in it, and I'm just going to showcase to you guys some of the things I carry in it and some of the crossover items that I keep in my range bag as well as my go bag. And I know that may be a little controversial, but hopefully, a really good instructor would appreciate having some things in both and would understand why you carry things in both bags. And so here we go. So in the very front part right here, there's these little pouches, and they allow you to store up to about 5 different firearms. I carry my cert weapons as well as my actual training, live fire firearms that I use, and they're usually pretty full, but it just depends on what I'm doing. If I'm training on my own, I like to have it full of, different options for myself as well as, for my students. It just depends on what I am going to be teaching or what I'm, using the range bag for. I do recommend having more than one range bag, one for training, one for taking students, and, some items that you'd have in both so that you don't have to kind of go between two bags that often. But because I do train often, I like to have some items in both depending on which bag I pick up. So as you can see here, I have some patches on the front of my range bag. I just like to showcase different patches. I think it's just a really cool way to, rep your squad, your business, and just showcase some really interesting things about your personality. So I like to have those on my range bag as well. And so now I'm about to show you some tools. So this right here is one of my markers that I use. I like to take at least a couple with me depending on, what type of training I'm going to do. However, it's really good to mark up your targets as well as, I have the red and I also have black. But it's really good to, be able to highlight to your students, especially for private students. You want to be able to highlight their progress and make sure that they can see where they are, especially for improvement, also for yourself as well. So I like to have a couple of those. Another thing that I like to have here is my Spork tool. It's by K-Bar, and I also have one of their knives I use as well, but it's really good to have different tactical tools on you for different purposes. This is one of those tools that is a crossover. I like to have it in my go bag, also have one in my range bag. Different tools that can double as, a useful tool you might need, as well as some tactical training and self-defense should the need present itself. I like to have just different gadgets and things around that, the average person may not recognize can be used to defend myself. Okay, so this is another one of those tools that I like to have, or things I like to have really rather on me for both the range and my go bag, as well as my range bag on the paracord. Also, what I'm showing right here is a notebook. I typically give that out to my students whenever I have classes, both private and group classes, just for them to be able to take any additional notes. Also, of course, it reminds them of the class they took. It has black armed on it, which is my business, and it's just a good takeaway for them and also for instructors. So this right here is a picture of my son and myself. That's something really good to have in your go bag, but I like to also have it in my range bag for an emergency purposes. Let's say something happens to me, and I also have a list of emergency, contact people, whatever, that somebody can reach out to in case something does happen. So they'll have a face and a name as well as, some numbers that they can reach out to. I think that's really good for instructors to have, as well as, the average person that's getting some training in. You might want to just have some emergency numbers in. People may not be able to get into your phone. They don't know who's who and who to contact on your behalf. And I think it's just a really good thing to have on you whenever you're training with firearms or training in general, just to have on you. Okay, so here is my actual staple gun. I use that for the outdoor range, sometimes for indoor, but mainly for outdoor range. And those are some extra batteries, AA, AAA. I use those multi-purpose, but mainly I use them for my ears. I use Walker headphones that go over your ear, and they require batteries. And so this here is my Mantis tool that I use for training myself, as well as whenever I have private classes, just to add some additional touch to the training, also so that they can see their progress and how they've done when they started out without my training versus over the time of us training, or just in that same session, so that they can get a good idea that they are improving. It adds a little boost of confidence as well for students, so they can see, okay, I'm not just shooting aimlessly. These tools and training that I'm learning here with her is actually doing something. So I love that tool. And right here, I'm just showcasing different eyes that I like to carry with me. I like to carry extra pair for myself, as well as for any students if something happens to theirs, if they forget theirs, or if something happened to mine. It's good to have an extra pair. So I usually have about one or two. Here are my Walker headphones that I just mentioned. They're really good, to be able to hear surround sounds, as well as, protect your ears from, whenever you're using your firearm. They're a must have. In my bag, I also have another pair of extra ears that go over your head for certain students who prefer, to have that kind. I typically, whenever I'm using a rifle, I like to have the ears that go directly in your ear, as well as the ones that go over your head. It just gives that extra protection for your ears. But, the ones that require battery, Walkers or any other brand, they're really good, for hearing, what's going around. If your students are nervous, if they're, mumbling, breathing heavy, you just want to make sure that they're comfortable. So it just gives you that extra, the extra edge to be able to hear your surroundings and what's going on. When working with firearms, it's just really important to, stay ready and know what's going on around you at all times. Here are some extra eyes that I have. They're actually not extra. They're my go-to, especially because I have locks and my hair can be, really thick. And when it's humid with the ears on my head, if I had the other eyes on, the ones that just go behind your ear, it can get really annoying, and just a lot of pressure. And I want to make sure I'm comfortable. So these just go right over my head, and just really comfortable, and they fold up really good, and they go right back in my bag. So I love those. So here's some extra items I have: deodorant, and I have some, bug spray that can be really annoying when you have a firearm in your hand and you want to scratch your eye or wave it away. You don't want to do that with a firearm in your hand. And here's just an extra tactical tool. It is double as a pen. It also can open up as a tactical tool to be used, to defend yourself. Sometimes I like to use this as well when writing notes, or just in general, marking up targets. I want to make sure that I just want to make sure that I have something extra on me at all times. It's just really good to have a tool near you if you need it. And here's just my laser bore sighter. That's really good as well to help students if their firearm needs to be sighted, as well as mine, because I train a lot. So it's just really good to have on you. Also, those are contacts. It's a must-have for me. I have it in my go bag as well as my range bag. I'll go over my go bag another day, but I like to have it in both. In my go bag, I like to have my actual physical extra pair of glasses, but on the range, if a contact pops out, I like to have extra contacts on me. Those are just one of those things that you need to think about. Most people may not think about that as an emergency, but I do. And here are just some extra caps, different training caps that fit in the various firearms that I have. And it's just another training tool, training aid to use with students. Here I'm just showing some extra magazines that I have. I like to have defensive rounds, as well as, range training rounds that I use. Just depends on what type of, training I'm doing. If I'm with a student or with myself, and other people on my team that I train with, it's good to have extra magazines just in general. But I like to keep them full when I'm training with my team or alone. But however, when I have a student, I like to keep them empty. I like to just, like I said, mitigate any issues because I want them to understand the importance of them being responsible for every round that leaves that firearm, every bullet that leaves the firearm, they're responsible for every round. And that's pretty much what I explain to students as well. So I keep it empty so that they can load it themselves. Also, I like to keep these little connector things here. I like to keep them on all of my compartments. Again, just an extra thing to lock it up. They're not a real lock, but they do add that extra security there. Like I said, we're dealing with firearms. Sometimes these are new students. Sometimes I'm training with new people. And here's an extra or a speed loader, as well as just an extra holster, different type of holster, depending on the type of training I'm doing that day. I'll put a different holster in there. Also, just a little shameless plug. I sell black apparel on shopblack.com. That's shopblac.com. And that the shirt right there that you see me wearing, that's on there as well. So this video is sponsored by Black, Shop Black. Okay, here is a must-have. Going to the range, go bag, home, trunk. It's good to have a first aid bag. I also have what I did not show here because I was not going to open it, but I have a tourniquet inside of my first aid bag. I typically carry one in my range bag as well. I also carry one in my trunk. It's good to have extra tourniquets everywhere. When working with firearms, it's best to know how to stop a bleed, stop any bleed that you have due to firearm, pack a wound, etc. So I have that training, also offer that training. So yeah, it's just good to have on you. It's a must-have, not good to have. It's a must-have. This is one of those things you need to have with you regardless. So I didn't want to leave the video without showing you that it's not in my go bag, but it is attached to it whenever I go training with a student or by myself. So just to wrap up the video, I wanted to just to reiterate to you guys that it's important to have everything that you need in your range bag. Those 100% must-have things that, only you would know. You need to have those with you. When you go to the range in your go bag, they just need to be close by whenever, you get ready to deal with firearms or an emergency situation. You need to have those on you. And for me, those are contacts, glasses, everyone has a different thing for them, whether if, someone has asthma, that may be another thing that they need to have on them is their pump. It just depends. Whatever your emergency tool is, have it on you inside of your range bag. Have it on you in your go bag, your first aid bag. You just want to make sure that you are covered in the event of an emergency. At Black Armed, recommend that you stay ready so that you don't have to get ready. And those are one of those things that you need to have with you. So in closing, just make sure that you are prepared. And I'd love to hear in the comments below, anything that you guys can think of that either I did not show in the bag. There's some things I just may not have shown that I do have. There may be things that I might say, oh, that's good to know. I might add that to my bag. But I would love to hear what your feedback is on, this type of material, if you want to see more of it, and if this was helpful at all. And I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. And always remember to self-actualize yourself, because I'm self-actualizing me. Go follow me on YouTube at Actualizing Me. So stay tuned for more content like this. I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. Peace.